Vanakkam, Dober dan, and Privyet. That last one was actually Ukrainian and not Russian. They sound very similar, but different languages. Today, I'm gonna make a smokeless fire pit using these two stock pots from Walmart. Today's video is actually sponsored by TinkTube, but not because they paid me, it's because they're patient. They are the sponsor of the camper build series, which I do plan to start again here shortly. If you've been tuned into the camper build series, thank you for your patience as well. And if you're just hearing about it on this video, you can check out that playlist by clicking on the card above or in the description below. All right, on with the build. I have an 8-quart and 16-quart stock pot in stainless. And I bolt these two things together to make a smokeless fire pit like a solo stove. To do that, I'm going to be putting the smaller pot inside the big one. The space between the two pots is going to provide a heated air channel to preheat the air before it injects back into the top of the inner pot, which will be where the combustion's happening. Eyes and ears, JW. These rivets are most likely aluminum, so I can recycle the debris if I can catch it. I'll save these handles for another project. And make sure these little bits of aluminum get recycled. Hey, Train's here. It's been a while, Mr. Train. Nice to hear you. If you're curious how I recycle small bits of aluminum like this, here's my simple trick. I put them inside a can. Been saving rivets I had to drill out on the camper build as well. I make sure it's all settled in the bottom, and then I flatten the can opening. The reason I do something like this is because it takes 90% less energy to make a new can from an old can. And there you have it, a GreenShortz PSA right here in the middle of this video. If you like these short tips on easy ways to be green, you can check out my other education channel, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. The next step will be to cut a hole in the bottom of the larger pot that's slightly smaller than the opening of the smaller pot. I'm looking for about ½ an inch smaller, and the lid on this spackling bucket is just about perfect size. Most stainless steel is not magnetic. So I'm gonna put the plastic bag under my cutting here to catch this debris as well. I'm gonna run my jigsaw at a slower speed with a metal cutting blade, of course, and keep it cool with the cutting oil. This oil can happens to be my grandfather's, my dad's dad. In fact, I'm still using the oil that he put in it. A little bit of Mills family history. And clean up this edge with a file. Now the top opening is nice and smooth. I'm going to prepare the smaller pot. The small pot will sit inside the big pot like this with a little bit less of a gap here because it'll be sitting up on some legs. But it's also going to have a ring of holes around the bottom here to let air into the inside where the burn's going to happen. I'm going to use a 1 1/8 inch hole saw bit, which is what I had, and I'm going to start my row of holes about 2 inches up from the bottom. I'll want a little room for ash. Some of these stoves will have holes in the bottom as well, but I don't want the ash falling out. Stainless steel is hard. We'll see if this hole saw can get the job done. Maybe not. I think I'm going to switch to a step bit. My step bit is a little bit smaller, so I'm just going to drill more holes. I'm also going to put a glove on. That bit really wanted to wander, and the center punch wasn't putting enough of a divot in there to hold it in place. So I'm going to pre-tap each hole with a screw and hammer. Really want to pull it out of my hands here. Good thing I got that glove on. This is heating up this bit really quickly. This is just a cheap Harbor Freight step bit. So I'm just going to sacrifice it for the cause. 4 more to go. Think it's going to make it? It wasn't pretty, but is done. Although I did make a mess of the inside. I'm gonna clean it up with a grinder. There's no real easy way to see this, but I'm just really knocking down the sharp edges here. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's gonna be in the fire zone. So I can imagine there's probably a better way to do this. If any of you know the right way to do this, please put it in the comments below. I'm wondering if making a circular punch would have been a good way to get through this metal. But this stainless is hard. Even the grinder had a hard time with it. But the burner pot here has holes, and I'm happy. So now I'm going to get about connecting the inner pot with the outer pot. And I'm actually going to use a Tink tube bracket for that, which I'll modify slightly. Tink tube is a pipe and connector system that I'm using on the camper build, I've used it on other projects as well. It's a great solution for any DIY project. The pipe is 1-inch steel pipe that's powder coated in 3 different colors or galvanized silver, and it connects to all of the fittings either by having them wrap around it or going into a connector like this. So TinkTube actually offers a discount to my viewers of 10% off your first order. Just enter coupon code GreenShortz10 when you check out. I'm going to modify it by bending this side of the U-shape down flat. The inner pot will sit on that tab then, and the outer pot will be screwed into the vertical tab. I want a 1/2-inch gap between the top of the inner pot and the outer pot. So I'm going to put that 1/2-inch wood down there, and this will tell me how much depth I need. So my brackets will go in like this. I'm going to attach the spacers with nuts, bolts, and washers. Now I'm going to mark and drill the holes in the outside pot. This thing is going to need some legs. I'm going to use some scrap 1-inch TinkTube pipe for that. I've got 3 pieces of black that will suffice for the height I need. Now I'm going to use the TinkTube self-tapping screws to go into the spacers. Now I just need to even the legs out. Shall go 1 5/8 since that's the length of that one. I am happy with that. The simplified explanation for how this works is that the air goes in underneath. Some of it enters the holes in the inner pot on the bottom there. The rest of it travels up between the 2 pots and then enters at the top for a secondary burn. The fact that the opening in the large pot at the top there is smaller than the size of the inner pot creates a little pressure there. At least that's how I imagine it working. I'm going to light it up and see if I'm right. The oxygen that's coming back in as that secondary burn helps ignite the smoke, which is basically just unburnt fuel. I got some spruce in there, which is why it's popping. There's science behind this. There's the right proportion of holes, the right ratio of primary air and secondary air, and that's a little more detailed than I want to go. So for me, the success indicator here is if I have a smokeless fire. So far, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing some secondary combustion there just around the edges. You can see how the flames are kind of licking in over the top of the inner pot there. Right in that area right there. Probably got more fire in there than I need right now. But it's throwing out some nice heat. A nice complete burn. A little bit of coals left there, and you can see the ash kind of moving around. There's still airflow coming in. It's all about airflow. I'm gonna light this up again, see if I can just get it going from the coals here with this lint. I'm also going to use oak roundwood here, sticks and twigs and some small logs. I don't know if lint will light from coals. It might just smolder. It is rocketing a little bit. Here though. The goal for this particular fire pit is to be able to use it with the camper. And potentially something that we could cook on too. It would need a grill attachment or some pot standoffs to be used as a stove, but it's not out of the question. It's putting out some nice heat and not a lot of smoke. So I'm gonna call this a success. Even though technically this wasn't a camper build video, I did make something that's going to go with the camper. This is definitely something that Trevor and I are going to be able to enjoy on a camping trip, even if it's just to roast marshmallows and enjoy the fire. Special thanks to my patrons and members for helping make these videos possible. I also really appreciate all of you who are regular watchers and commenters here on the channel. Thank you for all the ideas, encouragement, and suggestions. As always, my mission here at GreenShortz is to help you see green so you can be green, and save a little green by doing it yourself. This stainless steel smokeless fire pit was made for under $40, and when compared to a solo stove of the same size, would probably save you $100 to $150 if you made it yourself. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next Saturday.